My dear friends, let me begin with a simple question. Have you ever seen a tree in autumn? Its leaves are falling, its branches look bare, and yet it stands tall. It does not beg the leaves to stay. It does not cry out to the wind, "Please don't take them away." It simply accepts the season with grace. But we humans, we struggle, especially in old age. When the house becomes quieter, when the phone rings less often, when the people we once lived for become busy living their own lives, something inside us begins to whisper, "Do I still matter?" And in that whisper, many people make a mistake. They start begging for attention. Not always with words, but through complaints, emotional pressure, guilt, or constant need for validation. Today, I want to share with you a powerful truth. Don't beg for attention in old age. Earn respect, radiate love, and embrace dignity. There is a very delicate line between expressing your emotions and demanding emotional attention. Many people in old age cross this line unknowingly, not out of bad intention, but out of loneliness. Let me explain this slowly. When life becomes quieter, when children are busy, when friends are fewer, when evenings feel longer, there is a natural human tendency to crave connection. There is nothing wrong with that. We are social beings. We are wired for love. But the problem begins when that need turns into emotional pressure. A father repeatedly saying, "You never come to see me," or a mother constantly reminding, "I sacrificed everything for you," may believe they are expressing love. But what the other person often feels is guilt, not love. And guilt is a very poor foundation for any relationship. It may bring someone home physically, but it pushes them away emotionally. Think about it this way: when someone gives you a glass of water out of love, it feels refreshing. But when someone forces you to drink it while reminding you that you owe them, it suddenly feels heavy. That is how attention works too. Forced attention always loses dignity. Now listen carefully, not everything you feel should be expressed in the same way. Wisdom is knowing how to express your heart without pushing others away. Instead of saying, "You never give me time," you might say, "I miss spending time with you. It would make me really happy if we could sit together sometime." Same emotion, different energy. One creates distance, the other creates connection. In old age, dignity becomes more valuable than attention. Because attention can come and go, but dignity stays with you. And dignity is not about silence, it is about emotional maturity. There is a beautiful saying in life: people don't move away from love, they move away from pressure disguised as love. So ask yourself gently, not harshly, am I inviting people into my life, or am I pulling them by guilt? Because when you stop chasing attention, something surprising happens. You start attracting it naturally. Life has seasons, and every season has a different role. In youth, we are builders. In middle age, we are providers. In old age, we are meant to become nurturers of wisdom and peace. But many people struggle with this transition. Instead of evolving into calm guides, they remain emotionally dependent on their children or surroundings. Let me clarify something very important. Neediness says, "Give me your time so I can feel okay." Nurturing says, "I am okay and I want to share my peace with you." One drains energy, the other gives energy. Imagine a home where an elderly parent constantly demands attention. Every visit becomes a checklist of complaints. "You don't call enough, you don't care like before, you've forgotten me." Even if the children come with love, they leave with heaviness. Now imagine another home. The same elderly parent greets their children with warmth. They listen more than they speak. They offer stories, blessings, humor, calmness. There is no emotional burden, only emotional comfort. Which home would people naturally want to return to? The second one. Because people don't run away from age, they run away from emotional weight. When you shift from neediness to nurturing, your presence becomes a gift, not an obligation. Ask yourself, do people feel lighter after talking to me, or heavier? This question is not to create guilt, but awareness. In old age, your greatest strength is not control, not authority, not even advice, it is emotional safety. When your children come to you, let them feel, "I don't have to perform here. I can just be myself." That is nurturing. And the beautiful irony of life is this: when you stop needing people desperately, they begin to need your presence more. Because peace is rare, and people are naturally drawn to it. So grow into that calm presence. not the one who pulls others emotionally, but the one who quietly gives them space to breathe. There is a truth we often avoid facing. Loneliness in old age is not always caused by people leaving. Sometimes it is caused by not knowing how to sit with oneself. When the world becomes quieter, you are left alone with your own thoughts. And if those thoughts are dependent on external validation, the silence becomes uncomfortable. That is why many people reach out desperately to phone calls, visits, conversations, not out of love, but out of inner emptiness. But here is the deeper wisdom. If your inner world is empty, the outer world can never fill it permanently. Let me tell you a simple analogy. If you have a leaking bucket, no matter how much water you pour into it, it will never stay full. Similarly, if your sense of happiness depends entirely on others, it will constantly leak. So, what is the solution? Inner fulfillment. This is not a luxury, it is a necessity in old age. How do you build it? Not through noise, but through stillness. Not through chasing, but through reflecting. Not through consuming attention, but through cultivating meaning. Some people find it in spirituality, some in reading, some in helping others, some in prayer or meditation, some in simply observing life with gratitude. When you begin to enjoy your own company, something shifts inside you. You stop waiting for calls. You stop measuring your worth through visits. You stop interpreting silence as rejection. Because you are no longer dependent. There was a wise thought: loneliness is not the absence of people, it is the absence of connection with yourself. Once you build that connection, your neediness dissolves. And interestingly, people are naturally drawn to those who are not desperately seeking them. Because inner fullness creates a quiet magnetism. So instead of asking, why don't people come to me? Ask, have I created a life I enjoy even when I am alone? That is the real foundation of peaceful aging. Respect is not something you demand, it is something you embody. Many people believe that age alone guarantees respect, but life quietly teaches us otherwise. Respect is not given to years, it is given to presence. There are elderly individuals who walk into a room and instantly bring warmth. People naturally smile, listen, and lean toward them. Not because they are forced to, but because they feel something valuable in that presence. And then there are others who enter a space and the energy subtly shifts into discomfort or avoidance. What is the difference? It is not money. It is not power. It is not even health. It is emotional energy. Your words, tone, attitude, and habits all shape how people feel around you. If your conversations are mostly complaints, criticism, or regret, then you're likely to be a very negative person. People slowly distance themselves not because they don't care, but because the energy becomes heavy. But if your presence carries kindness, humor, acceptance, and wisdom, people are naturally drawn toward you. Respect grows in such soil. Think of respect like fragrance. You don't have to announce it. If it exists, people notice it naturally. Similarly, you cannot force people to respect you, but you can become someone who is easy to respect. How? By speaking less negatively, by listening more than reacting, by appreciating more than criticizing, by choosing peace over argument. In old age, emotional maturity becomes your greatest asset. And here is the beautiful truth: when you stop demanding respect and start embodying dignity, respect arrives quietly on its own. It is not mechanical, it is magnetic. Letting go is one of the hardest lessons in life, especially in old age, because the heart remembers what once was. Children were once small, home was once full, life was once busy, and suddenly everything slows down. And in that slowing down, many people hold on tightly, trying to recreate the past, trying to pull people back emotionally, trying to resist change. But life does not move backward, it only moves forward. Letting go does not mean forgetting love, it means accepting its new form. Your children growing distant is not necessarily rejection, it is evolution. They are building their own lives just as you once did. When you resist this, you create suffering. When you accept it, you create peace. Imagine an autumn tree again. It does not fight when leaves fall. It does not question its worth because branches are empty. It simply stands with dignity, trusting the cycle of life. That is graceful aging. Letting go also means letting go of expectations of constant attention, constant presence, constant validation. Because expectations often hurt more than reality. When you release expectations, you open space for gratitude. Instead of thinking they don't visit enough, you begin thinking, I am grateful whenever they do. And that shift changes everything. Graceful letting go also makes you emotionally free. Free from resentment, free from constant disappointment, free from silent suffering. And in that freedom, something beautiful happens. You begin to live peacefully in the present instead of emotionally living in the past. Letting go is not loss, it is liberation.